So just to answer to that question, do men trap women through via pregnancy? All the time. Because it's the easiest way to sit a woman down and slow her up. I'm not saying everybody does it, but it definitely happens, and it doesn't just happen to women of Haley Bailey's caliber. It happens to everyday women all the time. So to answer to that question, yes, they do.
Mm,
But just to go back a little bit, also when we're talking about marriage, I don't think that cheating and beating is the only reason why marriages break up. As a matter of fact, the number one reason for divorce these days is lack of communication. Lack of communication is a marriage's biggest enemy, and if it festers, it will erode at your marriage. There are so many reasons why people break up: lack of trust, lack of respect. I mean, these seem simple and fixable, but if it's chronic and it goes on, it can if and then there's no change in behavior, no one's addressing anything, then I don't think anyone should stay in a loveless um relationship that is lacking in trust, that is lacking in respect. Why? You have one life. One life. You got one time to do it. So if you got one time to do life and you're very, very not just unhappy, but unsatisfied, you are not content for a long extended periods of time, that means that your partner is not interested in changing the behavior to make the relationship be healthier. What are we doing?
all right. So I did want to say this. I think at the time, I do think in this particular instance that the guy was using sex as a weapon. I do think there are a, a percentage of mentally immature guys who want to who see themselves being able to have an extended contract with a woman through getting her pregnant, right? And they in these instances they know what they're doing. There's a reasonable expectancy if you're consistently having unprotected sex with someone and no one's taking any preventive measures, there's a reasonable expectation that someone's going to wind up pregnant. So at what point do you stop calling it accidental when it happens? Right? Like we know the equation, we know how the math goes. Why is there such a shock value when the math? Right? Like let's just cut that crap. It's not accidental, it's incidental. You did it until it happened. It was bound to happen. Right? So I do think that since he was at the pinnacle of her career and he was still looking to catch in his career because he had a reasonable local name, a regional name. He was still looking to catch. I think that honesty would have worked out in both of their instances, but they would have had to start with being honest with themselves. Right? He was just young and having fun, and not thinking maturely, and this was the result of it. And that's part of the. He's gonna have to own that at some point to be able to move forward.
But this statement of men trapping women are getting them pregnant, that sounds crazy to me. Because as soon as you find out you are pregnant, there's things you can do so you can get untrapped or unhinged or out of that situation. It's not like it's a permanent situation. There's all type of contraceptives you can use prior to getting pregnant and after pregnancy. So how
Hold
can
on,
you trap
hold on.
you?
The woman typically,
That don't make sense to me. So hold on, King. That don't make sense to me. So as a woman can trap a man because once she gets pregnant, he does slip up and get her pregnant. She make the decision whether I want to keep that child or not, and just go from there. But as a man, I can't sit there and say that I'm gonna trap you and I'm gonna make you have his baby. I can't make you do anything that you don't want to do.
if a guy's
Yeah,
intent,
with that said, I'm
please tell me.
pretty sure that Haley and DDG talked about it when she got pregnant. Like they both, you know, she probably thought she sacrificed like what she sacrificed everything, so she just knew that this is who she was gonna be with, and this is how she gonna work it out. So I'm pretty sure they talked about it, and she was like, okay, I don't think she just got pregnant. Like, uh oh. what we're gonna do. Like they had control over how that was gonna move forward, and they talked about it. I won't give them a pass on that. Like they knew what they were doing. They both had the conversation. It just didn't work out after they continued to move forward
Yeah,
immaturely.
she literally paused a peaking, super successful career. I really don't think she did that just on a whim on something that he didn't agree with. Like that conversation was had. Most times, if a guy's trying to trap a girl into pregnancy, he's not going to turn around and be the complete jackass until it's beyond the point of being able to unalive the child. That would be stopping. That's like running a race and deciding to stop halfway. If you're going to do that dumb ish, you hold on to this facade of what type of person you are until that decision. There's no reversing the decision. Like I literally know people who had those experiences. Like, and so it's nice. It happens far more often than guys admit. Like it really does. They immature minded guys think that by getting a girl pregnant, they're always going to be linked to and attached to that person's life, and she's going to be less appealing and less attractive to other men.
So just to address the idea that men don't trap women, but women trap men is kind of ridiculous to me, because the same way you said women have choices after they get pregnant, you have choices by not impregnating her. You have a choice not to have sex with the woman that you wouldn't want to have a child with. You have choices to use different contraceptions. You have choices to not slip up. You have choices as well. It's at a different phase in the interaction, but nevertheless, it's still a choice. We all have choices, but sometimes when we discuss things in relationships and we still decide to cross that bridge, for example, if a woman says, I don't believe in abortions, and you still decide to have sex with her, knowing that you don't want to have a that if she gets pregnant, that she's not going to get an abortion, then what do we think that is? So there are a lot of scenarios, again, where women are trapped, and it's not talked about enough, because a lot of times a man doesn't know how else to maybe get what he wants out the situation. So the quickest thing that comes to mind is, well, if she has a child, she's gonna have to sit down for at least 2 years, or she's not gonna be a viable candidate to anybody else, or there's so many reasons why some men do that. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly.
So I want to give a
So
little pushback on that too,
the
though.
method
'Cause-
of
hold
if you
on,
don't want a child, she don't need an abortion. That's cool. She could put that child up for adoption. Nobody said she had to delete the child, but you could put that child up for adoption. That is another option that women have after pregnancy. So we can't sit there and say it can't happen. It does happen. That's why these
but
these adoption clinics, these adoption places are so full of kids because many of women have done that. Many have made that decision. Many have made that choice. So it's not like it's not an option. You don't
Please,
have to delete. You can always put them up for adoption as an option.
can men go get vasectomies if they don't want kids? Ooh, the silence in the room.
I mean, that's the obvious though.
That's the mature choice.
That's
but
that's
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 also
fair though. That's
that's
fair.
also ridiculous though. You don't tell women to go get their tubes tied before they've had children. So that's fairly ridiculous. That's kind of like
Well, don't
a
have
near. Hold
premarital
on, I'm
sex
not
with
done.
them and you
Hold
don't.
on. That's a near like irreversible. Yeah, you can go back and change it, but come on now, we know that's not happening very often. What I'm saying is, here's the thing: it does come down to simply protecting yourself. That's it, right? If you don't agree with the person, I'm sorry, if you don't agree with doing that termination, then take the precautions so that it doesn't happen. Plain and simple. At the end of the day, you have to take those precautions. Don't sit here and say, well, if you and they knew they didn't want to get. Come on, man. Let's keep it real. Let's at all costs. If you ain't ready for it, let's prevent it. That's it.